ठीक है,
ग्रुप पे कहाँ पे
है ना?
क्या चल रहा है? भूल गए ना? म्यूट
आवाज
करो,
नहीं जाना चाहिए।
म्यूट करो।
और मेरे पास 50
बस है ना। और ये भी दोनों दोनों ऑन कर लो कैमरा और
Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Roshan ma'am, can we start? Is Roshan ma'am there?
Roshan ma'am, there is a question for you. So we are waiting for the chief guest, sir, Dr. Tiwari.
Okay, it's already 11:35, so I asked because I'll be
yeah.
having some other work.
Yeah, sure, sure. Good morning, one and all. The August gathering here. I would request everyone to mute their audios for better audio-video experience. Shortly, we are starting our today's international webinar, which is being hosted by Department of English, Bhairulal Patidar Government PG College under the aegis of World Bank, Madhya Pradesh Higher Education Quality Improvement Programs Academic Excellence Initiative. Shekhar Bhaiya, please remove the slide. Shekhar Bhaiya, please remove the slide. And now the platform is is towards the master of the ceremony, Miss Samriddhi Jain. Samriddhi, now the platform is yours and start the webinar. One humble request for everyone, please do not do any type of annotations in between the presentations, because it is very disgusting feeling for one who is presenting. And thanks and all the best to the Department of English for the today's international webinar. Samriddhi, now the platform is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I, Samriddhi Jain, professor in English at BLP Government PG College, Mahu. Welcome to one and all to the international webinar organized by BLP Government PG College, Mahu and the Department of English. The theme of our international webinar, as you all are familiar, is contemporary literature in English and ELT, changing paradigms and shifting trends. It's our honor and pleasure to have with us today as our chief guest, Dr. I.D. Tiwari from Chhattisgarh University, and guest of honor, Dr. G.A. Ghanshyam from Raipur, Chhattisgarh. We also welcome our first prominent speaker, Dr. S.C. Aslam Khan from Malaysia, and our second prominent speaker, Dr. Mitul Trivedi from Gujarat. We welcome you all. I also welcome our principal, Dr. Shobha Jainji, HOD English Department, Dr. Roshan Benjamin, along with your senior faculties, Dr. Sunita Vehel and Sunil Khare, Dr. Sunil Khare. And also we are joined by our junior faculties, Professor Shruti Mukhya and Professor Deepika Patidar. At an outset, I would like to request our principal, Dr. Shobha Jainji, to welcome our esteemed guest. Ma'am, please. I would request Dr. Shobha Jain, ma'am, to welcome our esteemed guest.
सभी को नमस्कार। महाविद्यालय के अंग्रेजी विभाग द्वारा आयोजित इस 2 दिवसीय राष्ट्रीय अंतरराष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठी में आप सभी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन है। समकालीन साहित्य, समकालीन अंग्रेजी साहित्य और अंग्रेजी भाषा प्रशिक्षण, इन विषयों के बदलते प्रतिमान एवं बदलती प्रवृत्तियों के विषय में आज ये वेबिनार आयोजित है। मैं इस संगोष्ठी में अपना गरिमामय सानिध्य प्रदान करने वाले सारस्वत अतिथि द्वय डॉक्टर तिवारी सर एवं डॉक्टर घनश्याम सर, जो दोनों ही मध्य प्रदेश के अविभाज्य अंग छत्तीसगढ़ से संबंध रखते हैं और अपने विषय के मनीषी हैं, जानकार हैं, गंभीर विषय विशेषज्ञ हैं। सर, मैं महाविद्यालय परिवार की ओर से आप दोनों का ही सारस्वत अतिथि के रूप में मैं स्वागत करती हूँ, अभिनंदन करती हूँ।
आभार मैडम।
स्वागत है। इस संगोष्ठी में अपने विचारों को विस्तार से प्रस्तुत करने वाले
मैम वॉइस अनम्यूट कर लीजिएगा आपका।
मैडम को म्यूट कर दिया गया है।
यस
Unmute.
ठीक है। मैं
जी मैम।
हृदय से अभिनंदन करती हूँ मलेशिया के डॉक्टर S.C. असलम खान सर का, जो बदलती परिस्थितियों में न्यू नॉर्मल, बदलते परिवेश में इंग्लिश लिटरेचर एवं लैंग्वेज टीचिंग के विषय को प्रतिपादित करेंगे। उससे जुड़ी चुनौतियां और संदर्भित अभ्यासों पर प्रकाश डालेंगे। साथ ही गुजरात से सम्मिलित और अपना सौजन्य प्रदान करने वाले डॉक्टर मितुल त्रिवेदी सर को भी मैं हृदय से स्वागत करना चाहती हूं, जो समकालीन अंग्रेजी अध्ययन भारत के विशेष संदर्भ में अपनी बात रखेंगे। निश्चित रूप से आपके जो विचार हैं, आपका जो मार्गदर्शन है, वो अंग्रेजी साहित्य और अंग्रेजी भाषा के शिक्षण प्रशिक्षण में न केवल शिक्षकों के लिए बल्कि विद्यार्थियों के लिए अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण और उपयोगी साबित होगा। जैसा कि विषय है समकालीन साहित्य इन इंग्लिश, सर्वप्रथम तो हम सब जानते हैं कि साहित्य समाज का दर्पण है और समकालीन साहित्य चाहे वो किसी भी भाषा का हो, अंग्रेजी भाषा का यदि है तो अंग्रेजी भाषा में समकालीन केवल लेखन ही महत्व नहीं रखता, उसके माध्यम से संस्कृति, दर्शन, धर्म, अन्यान्य सभी जो पहलू हैं उसमें सम्मिलित हो जाते हैं। तो ऐसे महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर महाविद्यालय के अंग्रेजी विषय की अंग्रेजी विभाग की विभागाध्यक्षा डॉक्टर रोशन खान और उनकी टीम के प्रयत्नों से आज जो ये अंतरराष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठी का आयोजन हुआ है, संभव हो सका है। मैं मैडम रोशन बेंजामिन को बहुत बहुत बधाई देती हूँ, उनकी पूरी टीम को बधाई देती हूँ। साथ ही बधाई है महाविद्यालय के आईपीएससी सेल की, आईपीएससी की बधाई है, वर्ल्ड बैंक की गुणात्मक संवर्धन की प्रभारी डॉक्टर स्वागता गुप्ता मैडम, हमारे क्षेत्र के देवी अहिल्या विश्वविद्यालय की माननीय कुलपति महोदया और इंदौर संभाग उच्च शिक्षा मध्य प्रदेश के अतिरिक्त संचालक डॉक्टर सिलावट सर, क्योंकि आज देवी अहिल्या विश्वविद्यालय में दीक्षांत समारोह आयोजित है इसलिए वो हमारे साथ नहीं जुड़ सके हैं। मैं उनका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करती हूँ। वे निश्चित रूप से कल हमारे साथ जुड़ पाएंगे और साथ में महाविद्यालय के इस आयोजन में जो महाविद्यालय के अतिरिक्त जो आयोजन की सलाहकार समिति है, डॉक्टर सचदेव आदि उनके साथी जो हैं, मैं उन सभी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करती हूँ और स्वागत करती हूँ। देश विदेश से सम्मिलित समस्त प्रतिभागी भी अभिनंदनीय है। मैं पुनः सभी का स्वागत करती हूँ। डॉक्टर तिवारी सर, डॉक्टर घनश्याम सर, डॉक्टर असलम खान सर एवं डॉक्टर मितुल त्रिवेदी जी का हार्दिक हार्दिक अभिनंदन सभी के साथ। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू मैडम।
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would like to introduce Dr. I.D. Tiwari, our esteemed chief guest from Khairagarh University. Dr. I.D. Tiwari has 35 years of teaching and research experience. He has been full professor for the last 20 years. At present, he is professor and head department of English Faculty of Arts, Indira Kala Sangeet University, Khairagarh, Chhattisgarh, India. He did his PhD in American English Literature on John Steinbeck. Dr. I.D. Tiwari also worked as professor and head of Department of English and Foreign Languages, Guru Ghasidas Central University, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh for 5 years. Dr. Tiwari rendered his services as Registrar of Central University, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh for almost 2 years. He has guided and supervised more than a dozen PhDs and written 7 books on language and literature. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Jan. Am I audible, Professor Jan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think it's my turn to speak something.
Yes, sir.
And speaking something in such webinars without listening to the scholars who are slated to deliver lectures is a little bit risky. Anyway, I won't take much time. Dear friends, I'm much pleased to be a part of this international webinar organized by VP Government College, Mo, on a very relevant topic, contemporary literature in English and ELT, changing paradigms and shifting trends. I must thank Dr. Shobha Jain, the principal of the college, for fostering such creative activities in the Department of English. I congratulate Dr. Roshan Benjamin and her team that made this webinar a reality. I believe the participants from India and other countries will benefit from this academic endeavor. This I am telling after seeing the list of experts and the topics of their deliberations. The list includes well-known scholars of the area the seminar is focused on. Dr. G.A. Ghanshyam, my friend, the guest of honor of this ceremony, has done marvelous job in the area of ELT. His deliberations on the topic, changing the trends to mend the minds, will certainly benefit us all. The other eminent scholars who are scheduled as speakers include Dr. H.C. Aslam Khan from Malaysia, Dr. Mithun Trivedi, Director, H.M. Patel English Studies Center, Gujarat, Professor Noor Arifa Razati from Indonesia. They all have contributed immensely into their fields of language and literature. We welcome them all. And there are a couple of friends who have joined there. They are very intimate to me. I know them well. And the list is very long, so I won't be calling them. So the theme of the webinar, as mentioned in the brochure, provides a vast area for discussion that will engage with in the coming sessions. The brochure talks about the whole language approach in general, cooperative learning, neuro-linguistic programming, along with other methods and mediums that might equip us with necessary skills to keep pace with the contemporary academic and market needs. Thus, the focus of the seminar will certainly be on changing paradigms and shifting trends in contemporary English language and literature. Dear friends, in this customary address, as a chief guest, probably I am not privileged with enough time to talk in detail, but I would certainly request the chair to allow me to talk about the causes that compel us to create and adjust with the new paradigms in language and literature. If you closely look at the topic of the webinar and ponder over it, you will come to the conclusion that apart from many other factors, the paradigm shift and change that we are talking about is mostly due to change in medium. Every time the medium changes, the message requires new form. These new forms demand new paradigms and new approaches as well. What we are facing today is not a new phenomenon. It has occurred in the history of literature and language many times in past. Every time the medium changes, we need to reinvent our old tools and invent the new ones as well. One of the issues that we should discuss in this webinar is the history of shift in medium, as well as how literature and literary people respond to these changes. The shift in medium, especially the present medium that we are talking about, this shift in medium has very swiftly shifted us to the digital age. Probably we were not ready for it. The digital age demands new tools and permits us to pose new questions as well that relate to literary texts. It has created new literary forms and models of scholarship that demands constant reinforcement. And we know it well, that yesterday's scholar, if not updated, will prove today's fool. Many of us do not know much about digital humanities that offers immense opportunity to students and teachers. The contemporary literature can't be understood without comfortable access to digital humanities. I wish there was at least one session on digital humanities to deliberate and discuss the new paradigms we are talking about. Only one example will be enough to elaborate my point, and that is the digital self-publishing. It has challenged the notion of individual authorship, literary analysis, the response of the reader, as well as narratology. These multimedia forms have prompted us to reconsider the boundaries of literature and the functions of language as well. In fact, no group is more sensitive to this paradigm shift of the digital forms than the readers of literature and language. The digital age has defamiliarized the act of reading by offering us choices. We can begin the argument with a reference to an article of Nicholas Carr. In his article published in 2008 as an Atlantic cover story entitled, "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" He talks about the heightened media consciousness as a characteristic of the digital age. And he writes, I quote, "Over the past few years, I have had an uncomfortable sense that someone or something has been tinkling with my brain, remapping the neural circuitry, reprogramming the memory. My mind is changing. I'm not thinking the way I used to think. My mind now expects to take in information the way internet distributes it, in a swiftly moving stream of particles. The deep reading that used to come naturally has become a struggle," unquote. So reading here refers to a special kind of reading that we call literary reading. This occurs because media are not just passive channels of information, but shape the process of thought as they supply the stuff of thought. Thus, digitization has radically expanded our capacity to create and share written material. The new technology always demands new social structures to accompany them. The new media is trying to shape the greatest expansion of expressive capability the world has ever seen. The reader is a consumer now. A reader has become, if I'm allowed to say, appliance of appliances, wiring himself into a gigantic hive. We realize that the print medium and the digital medium speak for two distinctive value systems. The digital realm, by contrast, constitutes a more labile form of cultural transmission. It is democratic, fluid, tending towards disorder, consisting of endless chunks of textual matter, connected actively and deliberately through links. The well-governed and orderly textual world in which everything has its place is being confronted by a docuverse of text and other modalities that is decidedly disorderly and at times it is anarchic. So another argument raised against digital literature is that in 21st century, the internet has made us so shallow that we can no longer read long novels. And the only form of narrative art that seems to have future is video game. So the critics hold the view that reading has also diversified So there are particularly 3 types of reading. I won't discuss them in detail because of the constraint of time. In fact, modern media spurred innovations on both the creative and critical side of literature and language. The new fields of literary studies would not have developed as they did without the challenges posed by new media decades ago, such as radio and cinema, etc. I'll conclude my statement by giving a few examples of fiction has diversified in this digital age. In fact, contemporary digital fiction best demonstrates the new idea that deals with paradigm shift. I believe we all have heard about fan fiction or fanfiction or fanfic or fic. It is fiction about characters or setting from the original work of fiction created by fans of that work rather than by its creator. Fans wrote new adventures for Sherlock Holmes after Conan Doyle tried to kill him off at Renback Falls. These terms came in vogue in 1960 through homemade publication called fanzines. But this all became very popular in the age of internet. So fanfiction.net is the website where writers, especially from marginalized section, post their writings. So this branch of literature is defined as derivative amateur writing. Fan fiction writers call themselves not unoriginal, but anti-original. The notion of conventional authorship is challenged by working collaboratively. Likewise, there are other forms of fiction, for example, SMS novel, and to decipher them, new paradigms need to be developed, and new approach is required there also. So, dear friends, thank you very much for inviting me. I have a full, prepared paper for all this. I can talk for another an hour or so, but that's all. Others are waiting there. Thank you very much. I have to extend my thanks to the organizer, and I'm sure my friends are there. Ghanshyam is there, Professor Ghanshyam is there, and others are there. Professor Sachideva, especially, who is so dear to me. So thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this webinar. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And now our guest of honor, Dr. G.A. Ghanshyam, Professor in English, Officer on Special Duty, Higher Education, Raipur, Chhattisgarh. Dr. G.A. Ghanshyam, along with many administrative duties, such as Deputy Registrar and currently as OSD, has very rich academic background. He has authored 5 books, mostly on Indian writings in English, with 94 published papers in international and national journals, and edited books of international and national repute. Now I request Dr. Ghanshyam to grace this occasion with his profound dispersed meditations on the theme of this international webinar. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much, Samriddhi Jain, for introducing me in such a grand way. Thanks a lot. The respectable principal of this prestigious college, the organizers, all the participants, and exclusively Dr. I.D. Tiwari, the chief guest of this function, my friend Dr. Aslam from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Dr. Mitul Trivedi, my dear friend Dr. Ashok Sasdeva, and all the participants. Indeed, it's an honor to be on this platform and speaking on the trends in the modern literature, and moreover on the contemporary literature in English and ELT, changing paradigms and shifting trends. Friends, this English came to us as a flutter of the butterfly, and nobody knew it well, that this flutter of butterfly will convert into a huge hurricane. We haven't even imagined in a country like India, English will flourish like this. Even the Britishers haven't imagined it. And the changing paradigms of English has brought us to a particular level wherein India is now one of the biggest country as far as speaking and doing research in English is concerned. We should not feel bad about our English because every country has its own English. We do not have English, but we have Englishes. Every country has its own way of speaking English, its own way of presenting English, its own way of pronouncing in English. There is no particular term in today's terminology as RP, received pronunciation. We have our own way of presenting the thoughts, and people are understanding it. People are recognizing it, and the world literature has recognized Indian English literature. We have made a mark. We have created our own niche, and with the help of that, we are moving ahead. And there has been a paradigm shift. Like this corona, the pandemic has brought us immense opportunity for going pan-academic. So from pandemic to pan-academic, we have moved a lot. There was a paradigm shift during the pandemic. We who were using only 5 to 10% of our cell phones now started using 50 to 60% of our cell phones, even to teach, even to evaluate, even the reasons we are using these cell phones. Now we have become computer savvy. Those who are not the computer savvies are changing, and a paradigm shift could be seen in the attitude of the teachers, in the attitude of the students. We started online classes. We started everything online. And I think today in this highly technological world, we are not online, but we are on the line. So online to on the line is the greatest paradigm shift which India has seen in these days. And now in this highly technological world of ours, every individual has to be fit. If he is fit, then only he can be a hit. And if what is fit? Fit is fluent in information and technology, which we have become. This corona has given us a chance to become fit, and we are fit. We are not only fit mentally, but we are fit physically also. Because this corona has given a lot of time to exercise, lot of time to take care of ourselves and the family. So family has become fit. We have become physically and mentally fit. Now, if we are fit, then we are going to be the HIT. And what is HIT? HIT means Holistic Information Transformer. So once the teacher becomes fit, the teacher is going to be a HIT, Holistic Information Transformer. We call Google, Dr. Google, Professor Wikipedia. What is the use of Dr. Google and Professor Wikipedia, right? We always say, Professor Google is there, Dr. Wikipedia is there, then what is the use of teacher? The use of teacher cannot be eliminated from this world till the world exists, because the teacher has the emotional quotient. The teacher has the social quotient. The teacher has the spiritual quotient, which the technology will never have. Technology has only intelligent quotient. And we must always keep the technology as a puppet, not as a master. So technology should dance on our tunes, unlike we shall dance on the tunes of technology. So that's why integrating everything, blending everything, then blending the synchronous and asynchronous is the need of the hour. If we can blend, then only we can lend. The beautiful word blend says, if you can blend, then you can lend. And if you cannot lend, then it is going to be the end. So today, in this pandemic, Corona has taught us, you need to blend it. You need to blend the online and the offline together to lend it to the students, so that the very purpose of education must not end. So we need to uplift, upgrade, update our students so that we can uphold the very essence of education. These kinds of webinars are going to pave a better way for us to understand each other, to know from each other, so that we can learn, relearn, unlearn, and then once again learn the new technologies, new methodologies, new approaches to make our life and our teaching sublime. You have invited me as the guest of honor. I'm really honored, and I do wish a grand success to this wonderful seminar, international seminar of yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Dr. Roshan Benjamin for the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Hello, everyone, and a very good afternoon to all of you. I think with the advent of the present century, it has marked a significant change or paradigm shift in almost all the walks of life, and hence literature written in English and English language. It has been an index of various views of life. It has mentioned and also has witnessed watershed moments. These changing paradigms have given both literature in English and teaching and growth of English language to revisit its own theories and practice and chart a course for the new one to emerge. The issues of society, culture and politics and gender, etc., need to be oriented today and explored with reference to the changing necessities of society and culture. Moreover, we need to revisit the new changes that we are facing in this new digital world, which has made the medium of imitation a complex phenomena, as the linguistic diversities have paved a new way. I think this seminar would help us to chart out a new territory as far as literature written in English and English language is concerned. I think our globe should be changed. Without a change, no new teaching can come into prospect. I think we have to be like bamboo, which stays strong at the roots and is always flexible to the changes. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our chief guest, Dr. I.D. Tiwari, and our guest of honor, Dr. G. Ghanshyam, who graciously accepted our invitation to be with us. I'm also indebted to the chairpersons for today's session, Dr. Ashok Sachdeva and Dr. Shivaji Sagarkar. I would also like to welcome and thank all the participants, including our international community, guests, esteemed faculties, dear students, and all others who have joined to share an immense learning experience in these 2 days at this international webinar. My special thanks to my principal, Dr. Shobha Jain, my colleagues, Dr. Sunita Bahal, Dr. Sunil Khare, Professor Shruti, Professor Deepika, Professor Samriddhi. My special thanks to Dr. Swagata Gupta. Above all, I would also like to mention my thanks to my think tank, Dr. Ashok Sachdeva, Dr. Renu Jain, Dr. Manisha Mathur, Dr. Rajhans, and also my internal advisory committee, my technical help, Mr. Ramar. And I think I would like to declare the session open. Namaskar, Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, as the session of the international seminar is officially open, I would like to invite Dr. Ashok Sachdeva to chair the session. Dr. Ashok Sachdeva is a prominent senior professor working at the Department of English, Mata Jijabai Government PG Girls College, Indore. We welcome you, sir. And now I request Professor Shruti Mukhya to introduce our first international speaker, Dr. S.C. Aslam Khan. Ma'am, please.
Good noon, all of you. Good noon, all of you. We are having global and different personalities from a beautiful and fast-growing economic country, Malaysia. I would like to invite Honorable Dr. S.C. Aslam Khan, being Samas Khan. Pleasure to
मैम वॉइस अनम्यूट कर लीजिए
Professor Shruti Mukhya, please unmute yourself.
starting from the beginning. Good noon, all of you. Today we are having one of the noble and prominent personalities from a beautiful and fast-growing economic country, Malaysia. I would like to invite Honorable Dr. S.C. Aslam Khan, being Samas Khan. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Aslam Khan, a renowned educator and professor in the linguistic literary world. He started his professional career as an English language teacher and has been working on various posts such as senior lecturer, master trainer, and consultant in the English Studies Department and the Institute of Teacher Education Specialist Campus. He has received 4 National Excellence Service Awards and an International Service Award from the Ministry of Education, Malaysia. He has a vast experience in planning, implementing, coordinating, and managing national and international teacher education professional training programs. He was the vice chairperson and a coordinator of MTCP for 15 years. He is frequently invited as a featured speaker at various national and international language education forums. He is presently an executive vice chairperson of American Educational Group, Malaysia, council member of NEPEI, and vice president of MAE. It is our honor and pleasure to listen today one of the rising stalwart and creative genius like Dr. Aslam Khan. He will speak today on English language and literary teaching in new normal, challenges and contextualized practices. We welcome you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I guess you can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's a great pleasure to be invited on this platform. I'm totally humble. At the same time, I'm honored to be part of this conference. And what I'm going to do is not to teach. I'm going to share. All right? And then if whatever I'm going to share can educate anyone, then I'll be totally grateful. All right? What I'm going to share is based on my experience. All right? And hopefully, whatever I'm sharing will benefit a lot of people. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank the organizing committee, especially my good friend, Professor Gamsham, who has been a great friend and more like a brother to me for this opportunity, and also Professor Dr. Roshan for communicating with me, and the rest of the team, and all the esteemed professors, all the esteemed organizing committee. Thank you for the opportunity for inviting me. Yeah, thank you. Okay, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to share is, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
Okay, can you see?
Yeah.
Dr. Aslam, maximize it. Yeah, good.
Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Now I'm going to talk about a little bit on English language. Yeah, well, I know that I have 45 minutes to speak, and then there will be question and answer. I'll keep to time. Not to worry. Yeah. All right. We're looking at English language and literature in the new normal, challenges and contextualized best practices. Yeah. Okay. Now this is what I have in store. Revisiting and internalizing some underlying educational theories and concepts, understanding the new normal, challenges in terms of policies, pedagogies, resources, technology, continuous professional development, practitioners, learners, and other related issues, the shift in education landscape for practitioners and learners, suggested practical and contextualized solutions in learning. Is my screen clear? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Your
sir.
screen is
Yeah, it's clear. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. Now, we must understand when we talk about English language or literature or whatever, it's all about education. And there are aspects of education that, don't change. And this aspect of education doesn't change. Like what Prof. Gansham always share with me, education needs to shift us from teaching us facts to teaching us how to live extraordinary lives. So what we are doing today, or I should say yesterday, today, and tomorrow, what we are doing is basically moving towards teaching our students how to live extraordinary lives. So this is basically what we are doing. Yeah? This is basically what we are doing. Now, the next question we ask ourselves is, do we teach or do we educate? When we teach, we show or explain, all right? Encourage someone to accept as a fact or principle, give information about or instruction in, to cause someone to learn or understand something, induce by example, or at times punishment to do or not to do something. When we educate, that's different. When we educate, we are basically inspiring, guiding, exemplifying, cause someone to apply and express, all right? Empowering, enlightening, and this is interesting, illuminating. So look at this. An educator gives intellectual, moral, and social instruction. An educator is an experienced and trusted advisor. An educator advises and shows the way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you 20 seconds to internalize this aspect, which is to teach or to educate. Just 20 to 30 seconds. Now, I think we have internalized, I think, or I guess, all of us are educators. I think, yes, my guess is right? We are all educators. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Agree, right? We are all educators. Okay. Now, if we are educators, we need to revisit and internalize the concepts and the theories and concepts. All right? Now, if you look at this, we need to understand the Industrial Revolution. And we are now in the Industrial Revolution 4.0. And if you look at Industrial Revolution 4.0, is based on the use of cyber physical systems. And that's one aspect, one concept of what we always look at. Okay, IR 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. The second part, we are all in the 21st century. We are all in the 21st century now. And then we came across, or we are introduced, the 6 C's of education for the 21st century. We have think critically, communicate clearly, work collaboratively, embrace culture, develop creativity, and utilize connectivity. And I have added one more C. That's why I put it there, 6 C's plus 1. Don't forget, whatever we are doing in the 6 C's, it must be contextualized. Why is contextualized so crucial? As we go on, then we will know why. And the third aspect that we need to internalize in terms of theories and concept, what is Education 4.0? There are 9 trends here in Education 4.0. Okay, according to Peter Fisk, 9. But today, we are looking at the 3 major trends, which are very crucial in this current situation, the new normal. All right. The 3 major one, plus another one, which is the trend number 7. We'll talk about 3 major ones first. Diverse in time and place, personalized learning, mentoring will become more important. And when everything is done, at the end of the day, when students sit for their examinations, in terms of looking at assessment and evaluation or testing, we have to understand that exams will change completely. So, ladies and gentlemen, the 3 trends plus exam. Now, what are conventions? This is the convention. Classroom with 30 students, 40 students, sometimes 50 students, and activities going on face to face, no social distancing. Okay, these are the conventions. Students learners happily facing each other. However, the new normal has impacted this face-to-face learning, because we know that the new normal is basically explained like this: a previously unfamiliar or atypical situation that has become standard, usual, or expected. And this is the scenario of the new normal, because education is done online. Okay? Online. Education online. You can see technology is everywhere. In urban areas, suburban, rural areas, it is technology. However, we need to emphasize what actually is technology in the new normal. We'll come to that. Now, when the new normal came into our vocabulary, came into our teaching platform, we start looking at the challenges. Are there challenges in the new normal in terms of teaching and learning? Definitely, there are challenges. Let's look at the 9 challenges. Adaptability struggle. Compatibility, encouraging collaboration and loneliness. So that is a struggle, adaptability, because we are so used to face. But now, sometimes it can be a lonely journey. You and your device, and every learner will be with his or her device. It's a lonely journey. All right? So it's not easy to get adapted. And then we have the second issue, the technical issue, connectivity and availability of connection. And the third challenge, to stay connected and also time management. What is the learning span of learners when they are studying online? In a face-to-face classes, 3 hours is no issue. But when it's online, 3 hours glued to the laptop or other devices can be a challenge. And then we look at number 4, socioeconomic factor or affordability. How many learners, okay, can afford the digital tools or can afford the devices? What if in a family there are 3 children or 3 learners and they're studying at the same time online? Are they able, which family is able to provide 3 gadgets, a laptop or tablet or smartphone? So we have to look at this challenge. Yeah? And then what about literacy in computer or competence in digital aspects? Or what about technical skills? Everybody has the technical skill. And then the sixth challenge, motivation, accountability. What about passive learners? What about learners who are lacking in persistence? And then what about assessment? And their beliefs by certain quarters that e-learning offers no support for assessment and supervision. And what about the heavy load that teachers are facing? What about their competence? What about the training issues? Are we providing special training for the teachers or academics? So the ninth challenge is confidence. When a learner loses confidence, he or she can really fall behind and drop out of learning. So these are the key challenges. Therefore, now we, the educators, we have to create a shift in the education landscape. We have to subscribe to the shift in the education landscape. We need to initiate, all right? We need to create, we need to initiate, we change our mindset. So therefore, we need to move away from the conventions. All right? So the shift is very crucial. Yeah. Like what Prof. Ghanshyam mentioned just now. Technology as a tool. Yeah, technology is a tool. Remember, it's not the master, it's a servant. Technology is a tool. It's not the master. So we use technology as a tool. So what does technology as a tool do? So technology as a tool should provoke to try and master skills, should encourage to co-create, inspire to explore the tangible, raise interest in topics, themes, and contexts, motivate to engage in the real world. Remember Education 4.0? We talk about being in the real world. So this is what technology should do, should be doing. And then the shift. Okay? We look at shift learning. The 7 most powerful idea. Okay, most powerful idea shifts in learning today. This is what we are looking at. Okay? The shift in learning. And the 7 most powerful idea shifts in learning are from physical to digital, from standards to habits, from compliance to play, from schools to communities, from reaction to interaction, from isolation to connectivism, from privacy to transparency. So I give you 10 seconds to internalize the 7 most powerful idea shifts in learning today. Okay, we have internalized that. So now, remember the part on assessment, the examinations? Okay, look at the new normal in assessment evaluation. We are all going digital. If you want to do examination or assessment or evaluation, we move away from the face-to-face, we go digital. It is all digital. And when we use technology in standardized assessments, look at this. Learners take their tests on a mobile device or computer. Then whatever that has been done, the scripts will be automatically distributed to one of the 1,000 plus certified professors around the globe through a dedicated evaluator form. Now you see, around the globe. And then after 24 hours, the learners and the administrators will receive the script with a detailed report. Can you see how prompt examinations will be when we're using technology? All right. So now let's go to the other part. Now we talk about solutions, practical solutions, best practices. And remember, I used the word contextualized. Always remember, yeah? And I always remind myself, whenever we are in the shift, we must always understand it has to be contextualized and personalized. Whatever it is, we know our learners best. All teachers or lecturers or academicians, or we say academics, when you are with your learners, you know them best. If you're in New Delhi, you have to contextualize and personalize whatever subjects that you are focusing on or topics is more important than teaching. If you are in Kerala, you are in Kashmir, you are in Gujarat, you can teach the same topic, the same subject. However, your pedagogical aspects will be different according to the needs of your learners. So therefore, the key words here are contextualized and personalized. Okay, so contextualize and personalize your pedagogical shift. Yes, we can use traditional classroom versus flip classroom. So we need to have that shift. So the shift from traditional to flipped. Okay, traditional classroom to flipped classroom. We need to shift from traditional classroom to blended learning. Okay, we have to blend face-to-face, virtual classroom. You see, so blended learning. However, we must always remember, whatever shift we do, we need to understand pedagogical models. So this is an example of the Phy Instructional Model developed by Roger Bybee. Engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. However, I have personalized my name. It's a mnemonic, or some will say acronym, Aslam here. Can you see Aslam there? So I have a suggested online teaching methodology, Aslam. Remember Aslam when you are in the classroom, whether it's online, okay, you're doing it online, or maybe one day if you can do it offline, you know, but this is basically for online teaching methodology. So Aslam, A for activate, S for share, L for learn, A for apply, F for move. What does this acronym mean? Okay, now we all know when we are in the conventional classroom, we talk about set induction, but I've changed it online to activate. Activate. That means lots of motivation needed because it's online. So we need to activate, okay, the whole scenario of learning and teaching. Motivation is important. So how do you go about it? So you have the students' involvement activated from the very beginning. So that is your set induction in the face-to-face session. And then you share. In the conventional way, we see presentation and practice. But online, we say share. So you use all the tools that you have. All the tools. Okay, interact with the learners. Introduce the new language. Or if you're teaching literature, if you're introducing a poem, then you introduce, you share the poem and analyze the poem. But it's all done through the necessary tools. And then you get direct feedback and responses from the learners. And the third one, learn. In the face-to-face classroom, we define this as development and production. So therefore, teacher sets the focus skill task and students are directly involved in pair group work using the available technical tools. Feedback and responses can be verbal or in written form. Again, available technical tools. So once development done, production done, let's see. Sometimes we give the students homework. Okay? Apply. That means they need to apply what they have learned. So exercises. Students' answers. So teacher provides feedback or students provide feedback. From here, we are able to gauge our learners' performance, and then we provide further contextualized solutions. So we are giving practices based on the learner's need. And then what we do, once the whole thing is done, we move. Normally we say conclusion and what's next in face-to-face. We summarize the teaching learning points to conclude. That means it's synchronous. Synchronous, yeah? Then teacher sets enrichment tasks and also sets meaningful research work for the next lesson's prior knowledge, asynchronous. But you must look at the top right-hand corner. The top right-hand corner is a reminder for all of us. We talk less. Students' talking time is more crucial. So we talk less. Okay, maybe we talk 25%. Students talk 75%. So maximum learning will take place by increasing students' talking time. All right, so that's a suggestion. Now let's look at the practices again. Now, if I'm teaching a poem, all right, I come up with an approach. I put a theme, the topic, the content, the instruction, the procedure, and the activities, the underlying principles and beliefs, the outcomes, or the remarks. Now, we have to come up with this. The approach that we set to be contextualized and personalized. Look at this. If you're teaching the poem, you see, these are the things that you can do. It's all done online. But your principles must not differ or go astray, because learning is always individualized, personalized, and it is with differentiated instructions. And what is the outcome? Okay, our remarks is based on all this. We have thinking skills, application, reasoning, all this. So ladies and gentlemen, we come up with the approach, put everything in our approach, and then we continue with the lesson. So far, okay? Can you hear clearly? Moderator, Miss? You, so far, okay, yeah? Okay, good. Now, another one. The 4 skills can be integrated when, where it is appropriate and functional. Now, look at this. In a class, we can have post-reading activities, the best practices, but you can also integrate with the other 3 skills. So we have reading, listening, speaking, and writing integrated in these post-reading activities. Okay? And then we go to grammar. What about grammar? We talk about the 4 skills, then we talk about grammar. And then we can use meaningful drills. Now remember, in grammar, we don't do mechanical drills. Mechanical drills are not encouraged. Meaningful drills are very crucial, because meaningful drills means, okay, meaningful drills, if we are looking at meaningful drills, yeah, so we talk about meaningful drills. So what do you mean by meaningful drills? So meaningful drills are basically drills which are meaningful, in short. But what I'm trying to say is that language in use is not language learned in isolation. Language learned in context. Language learned in context. Yeah, learned in context. Now, you can use pictures or photos. You can use sounds and songs. You can also use chants or charts or whatever activities. So remember, meaningful grammar drills are drills which are used to understand linguistic features, linguistic structures in context. So therefore, it becomes meaningful. Grammar not taught in isolation. Now look this. We can use pictures like this. You see, there's a flow. 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000. So you can use this for past tense or present tense. You can use past tense. All right, we're looking at grammar. What happened? All right, you can use for listening, speaking, reading, writing. All right, integrated. And we can use a song. Now, this is a very interesting song where students are basically in meaningful drills. It's a story, isn't it? Yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. Now it looks, now you can see there's a context here. It's someone's reflection. And the one that you underline, okay, is the past tense. All underlined phrases and clauses are the past tense. So we can put into two groups, practicing meaningful drills, the past tense and present tense. So one group will sing, yesterday all my troubles seem so far away. And then the present tense group will say, now it looks as though they are here to stay, or I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man. The past tense group will say, I used to be. Then the present tense group will say, there's a shadow hanging over me. And past tense will come in. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. You know what I'm trying to say? This is the drill. Meaningful drill. Grammar drill of the past tense and present tense in context. Another drill. You see, it will go on. Conditional tense. If I lose my job, I'll sell my house. If I sell my house, I'll live with my mother. If I live with my mother, I will what? Blah, 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 blah. And then you start another group. If I lose my job, I'll become famous overnight, or something like that. You go on. So give them the starter, the stimulus, and then they go on. It can go on and on and on. And the practice is conditional. Okay? Students can, or learners can choose which stimulus they want to start with or end with. And then we can use stories. We know that short stories are the best. Short stories are the best to teach language development. Okay? Let's look at this story. Okay? Okay, in short stories, these are the activities. We can have all these activities there. And how do we go about it? Let's look at this story, yeah? A Long Walk Home by Jason Boccaro. Let's look at this short story, okay? So remember that literature, in terms of short stories, yeah? This is an example of one. Or we are looking at a poem, we can use a short story or a poem for language development. So literature is very crucial for language development among learners. So let's look at this story. If you're looking at the 4 skills, the reading. Now you see, in reading, all right, look at this activity. When they're reading, they're looking at the grammatical items. Learners, I mean, this is just an example, very simple example, matching the definition, yeah? Matching with the definition. And then looking at words and phrases, all from the short story. And then we look at the word class. You can change anything, the word class, all right? Whether it's in a present tense, past tense, continuous tense, but it's all based on a short story. And then writing. Okay, when we talk about writing, you can write a dialogue, you can paraphrase it, and you can write a report, you can summarize the story, and then you can talk about the character. You see, that's writing. Okay, I know I have another few minutes, yeah. So look at this. Look at this. These are all writing. And then speaking and listening, or listening and speaking. Dramatization, role playing, reenactment. See? Speaking and listening, or listening and speaking. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to understand when we are looking at learning and teaching in a new normal, whether it is English language per se or literature, this is the pertinent point. Just contextualize and justify your selection of, okay, all the mentioned activities just now, yeah? It is based on what? The learner's language competence, maturity, learning styles, their acceptance, socioeconomic status, the syllabus or curriculum requirements, the availability of resources, and other factors which, to your knowledge, will affect learning. So being the practitioner, the educator, you know best of the content and the pedagogical needs of your learners. I always use this line: one hat doesn't fit all. So this is what I feel it is very pertinent to understand this. You need to contextualize and personalize your pedagogical shift based on all these aspects. Then you will make learning not only interesting and fun, very, very lasting in the heart, mind of your learners. So as a conclusion, we must understand when we talk about the new normal in education in general, all right, it's not about merely online learning. So in the new normal, education is not just online learning. The most important here, must understand, is not cognitive. It is affective aspect of it that we need to take into consideration. So that's why Francis Jim Toscano mentioned this: Maslow before Bloom. We all know Bloom is cognitive, right? Maslow is affective, right? So Maslow before Bloom should be the new battle cry, in education. Then equitable access matters more than ever. Equitable, there must be equitable access. And then there must be multiple pathways. And then, of course, we need funding, support, okay, more professional development for teachers, because the teachers, aspect of it, we need to take into consideration seriously. Teachers' wellness, okay? Teachers' wellness. They need both the professional development, motivation to move on. And then we look at sound pedagogy. And then we need to review assessments and grades. If conventional way, these are the assessments and grades, but now we review. The community and the external partnership aspects are need to be forged. Privacy, safety, security, digital, I think we all know there are certain SOPs, standard operation procedures, when we are going online. And of course, as learners, we need to have these essential skills: flexibility, adaptability, and empathy. So the question is, how about you? Or how about us? What's our reimagination of the new normal in education? Something for us to ponder and reflect. So just now we were talking about Bloom's taxonomy and Maslow's hierarchy. So when we are in the new normal, this is the food for thought. Are there opportunities granted to us in the new normal? I say yes. Opportunities such as research innovations, technological innovations, and also opportunity for us in terms of socio-economic intervention. These are opportunities. Okay, so therefore, what is the solution? So we have a new kinds of problems require new methods of solutions, and new methods of solutions require new ways of thinking. And all these aspects are for quality and effective learning and teaching. All right, so remember, and the key word is contextualization. Just contextualize your learning and teaching according to the needs of your learners based on the resources available. One hat doesn't fit all. So with that, these are the 10 questions, pertinent questions for us to reflect. Please, based on this presentation, which I've shared, these are the 10 pertinent questions for us to reflect further and then ponder. All right? And make the pedagogical shift. And contextualize it according to what we have mentioned just now, the needs of your learners, and also based on the resources that you have. So with that, my hope is that our new normal today exposes what was wrong with our old normal yesterday and sets us up for a better normal tomorrow. So this is by an educator, Dwayne Reid. All right, so with that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful presentation. Now the session is open for the questions. If you have any questions, you can ask our speaker. The session is open for the questions. If you have any question, you can ask our speaker.
Dr. Aslam, there is a question from Abha Nivaskar.
Okay.
And she has asked, how important do you think standard British American accent is important while teaching English, as each country has its own mother tongue influencing the foreign language?
Now, I think this question, even anyone can answer this. All of you can get the answer right, because now we are not talking about English. You know, English doesn't belong to one country. We talk about Englishes of the world. English belongs to the speaker. Will that be fine? We don't talk about accent or whatever. English belongs to the speaker. So that is based on Englishes of the world. If you think that your pronunciation is right, it is according to the standards, then you are there. Because you don't want anyone to go around and speaking English with one accent. All right?
So,
The English belongs to the speaker.
so I understand correctly. So when we are giving the listening skills or reading skills to the students, then it should be with that particular mother tongue influence, or it should be in neutral accent. Because I am into language teaching, and that's why I would like to know it.
Okay. Now it is crucial. It is crucial that we stick to the standard RP, right? Most of us say RP. But if you say that, if the pronunciation, okay, we are talking about pronunciation, yeah? We try to stick to the RP, yeah. Some will say that, hey, sir, your accent is Malaysian, your accent is Australian or American or whatever. But the point is this. If you are in Gujarat, do you really need to bring the international accent there, or you have an accent where everybody could understand, which is really the standard that is used in the accent? And we are fine. As long as the message gets across in a very meaningful, there's clarity in whatever in the message.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Another question, Dr. Aslam.
Yeah.
And this question is, how difficult is it to get yourself published from Malaysia, particularly when you are hoping to add in the realm of literature? This has been questioned by Dr. Bushra Wawood. She has asked how difficult it is to get yourself published from Malaysia, particularly when you're hoping to add in the realm of literature.
I think publication, there's no difficulty in publication if you're genuine and sincere. If you're genuine, you're sincere and honest with publication, and base it on all your efforts, you have followed the whatever that's necessary for publication, I think nobody can stop you from publishing your research. So anybody can publish anything. However, we have to be genuine, honest, and also sincere with what we are doing. There must be a reason why we are publishing an article. It is to share honestly, because we are educationists, we are educators, we share. We never walk alone. Whatever we can do research upon, and then we can share the findings for the betterment of learning and teaching, just do it.
Another question, Dr. Aslam, is coming from Dr. R.C. Reddy.
Yeah.
He's asking how far the English literature syllabus help in fostering the ELT skills. I repeat the question again.
Yeah.
Dr. R.C. Reddy is asking how far the English literature syllabus help in fostering the ELT skills.
Okay. But in Malaysia?
I guess it is pertaining to literature being taught everywhere in the world.
No. I love literature. I always tell myself this. With a clear understanding of literature, I think, this personal view, with understanding of literature, I think I'm a better prepared teacher or educator, because literature is life. Literature is everywhere. All right? And literature is something that is involved in cognitive, affective aspects of teaching and learning. That's why I always say that everyone is a walking literature. It's about life. So literature is a very good avenue for language development. So that's why you use short stories, poems, plays, novels in English language classroom, so that it will enhance language development among the learners.
One more last question to go, Dr. Aslim, and I guess this should be your favorite.
Yeah.
And it has been asked by someone is asking, how would you consider admitting movies into teaching of literature?
Wow.
This has been asked by Mr. Sandeep Patel.
Okay. Now, I always believe this. When you are doing a poem, we don't have to say what the poet is saying. We can analyze the poem, justify it, give an answer which clearly denotes whatever question is asked. With clear justification, I will accept the answer. So I tell my learners, there is no right or wrong answer in literature as long as you can justify your answers. That's why we always talk about, reader response, personal response, but with justification. Then I think we as educators should applaud our learners' answers if they can justify the answer which is not what everyone is expecting. There's no right or wrong answers. So when you want to bring a movie into classroom to teach literature, but you must set your objectives. Your outcome must be very clearly stated before you start anything, because you want to achieve something. You can bring anything to class. Movies, songs, dramas. But whatever you're doing, we need to understand the outcome that you have set must be achieved. Okay?
Another question, sir.
Yeah.
And I guess this should be your last. It has been asked by Dr. Jagdish Mujalde. And he's asking, how does poetry helps in learning English language?
Wow.
I repeat the question, sir.
Yeah.
How does poetry helps in learning English language?
Remember, just now I came up with my approach, right? I put the poem there. The poem is, "He has such quiet eyes." That poem And the activities that I've suggested for that poem, that's my, something that I suggested is for language development. I bring the poem, I don't share the poem. I have the first one. I play a song related to the poem. I show them a little movie clip according to the poem. Talk about the movie, talk about the song, and then I bring the poem inside. And then let them see. Let them have an understanding of the whole thing. I tell you, I'm very positive. If you bring poetry into the classroom with a clear objective, with interesting, exciting activities, the students will be waiting for you at the door every time your class is going to begin. They will say, "Sir, today we want another poem, sir." They say, "What? Another poem? Today no poem." "Sir, please, sir, one more poem," because you have made them understand that through poem, they improve, both connectively and also effectively. So please bring poems, but please understand that whatever poems you bring, it must fulfill certain conditions. The poem is not for you. The poem is for your learners, their level, their maturity, their competence, their age level, and everything. And then whatever activities you want to do, please make sure that you achieve a certain outcome that you have set. With that, you will be a teacher always waited for your lessons.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aslam.
Yes, my pleasure.
And I would like to inform that our next speaker, Dr. Mithul Trivedi, has already joined. We welcome Dr. Mithul Trivedi, but before we close on, I would request Dr. Sachdeva for his reflection on today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roshan. I hope I am audible. Honorable, respected principal of the college, Dr. Shobha Jain, and the convener of this international webinar, Dr. Roshan Benjamin Khan, and her team, her entire team of the English Department of Government College, Mahu. First of all, I take an opportunity to congratulate the host institution on organizing this wonderful international seminar, which started with the inaugurating and inaugural speech of the chief guest, which was also inspiring, very thought-provoking. It was in itself an intellectual message, an intellectual deliberation on his part, and also of Dr. G.A. Ghansham, the guest of honor, who has also brought out the relevance in his wonderful terms clearly before us. And it was, believe me, it was a wonderful feast, an intellectual feast, an academic feast to have listened to all such academic stalwarts like Dr. I.D. Tiwari, Dr. G.A. Ghansham. Roshan herself is a great writer and intellectual. And listening to Dr. H.C. Aslam Khan, I consider this intellectual deliberation as a new normal lecture in itself. It's atypical, extraordinary scholarly presentation on his part. And Dr. Aslam Khan, believe me, as the abbreviation goes, sir, you have really activated us by sharing your knowledge. And also, we have learned, all the participants here have learned a lot. And your application of knowledge, your application of new normal tools, your new concepts, new pedagogy, there has been enough application, demonstration of enough application in this. And that has really moved us. So activate, share, learn, apply, and move, which are the which the term Aslam comes to be abbreviated as, has really justified. I must appreciate one more aspect. Looking at the theme, the theme of the conference as the shifting paradigms are changing trends, are changing paradigm, changing trend, changing patterns. You have talking about perfectly on the shift, and your focus was more on these paradigms, shifting paradigms, the changing paradigms. Sir, you talked about, and I really appreciate the pragmatic concerns, the pedagogical concern, the pragmatic concerns, the practical aspects, and the levels of competence that you have brought out before us are unusually and externally scholarly, and you have been probing too deep into the model of learning, which is the need of the time, which is the need of this time. So shifting paradigms, the changing patterns, all such. And first of all, you started with the teaching and education. Your differences, bringing out the differences, the key differences between the teaching activity and the education were really the finer points. They were the finer nuances. And I appreciate the 6 C's of education that you have brought to our concern. That was how to think critically, how to communicate, how to work, how to embrace culture, and how to develop creative activity, and how to utilize connectivity in the present context, in the present times. So you also talked about the key challenges, which were the adaptability, the technical concerns, and the time management, the socio-economic, and also the computer literacy, which is also posing a great challenge before us, and the self-motivation, and the assessment and exam reforms, and the evaluative sort of, and how to cope with the workload sort of situations. And finally, we are also talking about the role of confidence. And this, you emphasize the need to create the shift. How to create this shift? I think this, the theme of the conference really matches with that. Really, the change has been shifting. The paradigms have been shifting. The pedagogy is shifting, and the education landscape. So we can see that technology is a tool. I appreciate your point that you said that technology is a tool. We shouldn't make it a bad master, but it's a good servant. It's up to us how to make use of these technology as a tool. So you brought out certain points like contextualize, personalize, and bringing about this pedagogical shift, what could contribute to all these things. And also, I was also equally impressed to see the model by Roger Bybee, which is a pedagogical model that you have elaborated on, which you have discussed in detail. And that really has, that has been a revealing aspect of all this. So with this, and you have also suggested the online teaching methodology, which is the dire need of the time, that what should be, I think over the so many, for the last 6, 7, 8, 10 months, as you can see, it's almost a 1 year since our trends have shifted to this online mode of learning. So we can see, as Dr. Ghansham says, we are on the line now. So your lecture is also a step to bring us on the line through this online lecture. And you have proposed an online teaching methodology. We have been pondering over various issues during this online teaching. We are teaching our MA classes, PG classes, UG classes, teaching language, teaching literature. We have been confronting with all the issues. So the practical model, the pragmatic approach, and the solution that you have offered, the suggestions that you have made are all excellent and wonderful to be implemented. And I think I can see the solution of my own problems too while discussing, while teaching online. So this, and also you talked about how the integration of 4 skills can be made. So your lecture has been very invigorating. We were all very keen, very enthusiastic, and I can see the comments of appreciation in the chat box. People were all praise, and people were invigorated. They were highly enthusiastic, very curious, and they were listening to your lecture attentively. and certain. So this was a new normal lecture, and this intellectual and academic feast has been very gratifying, very satisfying. It has been a very sumptuous feast, as you can say. And I do salute you for knowledge, for your presentation, and for bringing, it was not just the theory that you have discussed. It was what we really feel while teaching, and the pedagogical concerns, the pedagogical challenges that we have that are being posed today, and how we have to become normal with the new normal and with the technology. So thank you so much. And again, I congratulate the institution, and the credit goes to Roshan Benjamin Khan, and above all, to my friend, Dr. G.A. Ghansham, for bringing such a wonderful speaker before us, and to I.D. Tiwari sir for inspiring us, and the team of the whole college, and the principal, Dr. Shobha Jain. And we have our friend, Dr. Mitul Trivedi here also. And the equal thanks go to the, I think, I know that the team of Roshan Benjamin Khan, like Dr. Sunil Khare, Shruti Maria, Sunita Bahal, they have all working hard to make this program a success, and you have made it. So thank you so much.
No serious work
Thank you
should be
so
done
much,
as long as
Dr.
you are
Ashok Sachdeva. It is always a pleasure to listen to you whenever your reflections are just, like dispersed meditations. Thank you so much, Dr. Sachdeva, and thank you so much, Dr. Aslam also. And I would like to now hand over this the next session to Samriddhi Jain, and welcome Dr. Mitul Trivedi. A very warm welcome to you, and thank you for being with us, Doctor.
Thank you, ma'am. And now we move on to our next esteemed speaker, Dr. Mitul Trivedi, who comes from Gujarat. This session will be chaired by Dr. Shivaji Sargar, Mumbai University. He is the head of the department and Dean Faculty of Arts, Mumbai University, a renowned teacher in English literature and English language teaching. We welcome you, sir. Now I request our senior professor, Dr. Sunil Khare, to introduce Dr. Mitul Trivedi. Sir, please.
Thank you, Samriddhi. A very good afternoon to you all, and a warm welcome in international webinar under the umbrella of IQAC MP Higher Education Department, Government PG College, Mahu. It was a great pleasure and honor that Dr. Mitul Trivedi will going to join us. His long and illustrious professional career has been associated with various national and international organizations, academic as well as corporate. His keen interest in research and development has brought him several academic laurels. He has presented his research studies in various countries of the world like UK, mainland Europe, Czechoslovakia Republic, Greece, Jordan, United States of America, and Singapore, to name a few. He has been into print throughout his academic career. He has, to his credit, 7 books and more than 25 research papers published in international journals with high repute. His great and committed dedication to the field of academics led him to establish the Global Association of English Studies, which has at present more than 7,900 members representing 59 countries of the world. Along with his deep academic interest, he has also contributed a lot to the corporate sector that deals with educational excellence, such as British Council Regional English Language Office, where Dr. Trivedi has contributed to numerous national and international projects. At present, Dr. Mitul Kumar Trivedi has been formally assured with H.M. Patel English Studies Center as the director. So please welcome Dr. Trivedi to enlighten us on the topic, the contemporary English studies in India, context and creativity. Dr. Trivedi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In this year, for last 14 months, in one of the surveys, it is realized that the most used statement in English, especially in academics, is, am I audible to everyone? So I will ask the same question, whether my voice is coming through clearly before I start my deliberations.
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Respected Professor I.D. Tiwari, sir, Ashok Sachdeva, sir is here, Professor Roshan is here, there is an entire team. Before I formally start, I would like to thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share screen with such eminent scholars from the entire country. I'm humbled and extremely honored to be given this privilege to deliver one session. I congratulate the entire team for putting in a lot of efforts in bringing various academics from across the nation as well as beyond our borders. I'm happy to state that Professor Aslam Khan has delivered a wonderful session, and it has set the standards for this particular event. And with that note, I think I would formally start. Thank you. I'll share the screen now. The topic and the title of my presentation is going to be Contemporary Indian Writing in English, Concepts, Contexts, and Creativity. So I'll be dealing mainly with three things. And before I actually start talking on this presentation, I would like to share with you that in recent time, the new writings in English, especially in India, is noteworthy. The various authors have tried various genres to contribute their intellectual, insightful, understanding of life. And I'll come to that as the presentation goes on. But the very first thing is that the approaches to Indian writing in English. So rather than talking on a particular text, I'll try to explain how, being the academic practitioners in the discipline of English studies, should we approach the new Indian writing in English. As we all know that Indian writing in English, mainly during 60s, 70s, 80s, they mostly dealt with those ideas, ideologies, theories which came from a different world, and then they were Indianized in our own context, and then the literary text used to be created. It was all, conceptualized contexts in which most of the literature, especially in the 60s, 70s, 80s, dealt with. I believe that the shift could be seen in the 21st century or even in 1990s when contextualized concepts are given more priority. So when I talk about, conceptualized concepts, what I mean is that the Western theories started entering to the arena of the creativity in India during 60s, 70s, 80s. And those concepts were Indianized, and then they were incorporated in our literary creation. And the prime example is Arun Joshi. For example, out of 5 novels by him, 4 deals with mainly the existential philosophy. and the ideology of existentialism as practiced in the Europe. However, the existential philosophy which Arun Joshi tried to incorporate in his literary creation was also Indianized. For example, The Apprentice or The Foreigner or The Strange Case of Billy Biswas. These are the examples where various studies have been conducted keeping the existential thinking in mind. However, in recent times, contextualized concepts are given the priority. And the prime reason for that is the market. The huge readership in India, which has given birth to popular literature immensely, and there is a wider readership for such literature, commercial literature or popular literature as we term it. But wherein the contexts are very local, wherein the concepts are practiced in our day-to-day life. For example, Chetan Bhagat, who is the prime example and who has accepted this particular genre of writing and popularized it throughout the way. Another thing I'll be dealing with will be creativity. So thematic as well as linguistic. As Professor G.A. Ghanshyam rightly said, that world Englishes has become a discipline of study, especially from 1980 onwards, 1982 onwards, when Professor Braj Kachru produced his research on Indianization of English, which opened up the new possibility to understand the localized forms of language, especially English language. Before that, the various local forms or regional forms of English were questioned on the grounds of their legitimacy. What this entire genre called World Englishes has tried to do is to legitimize these varieties of Englishes. And for example, we have observed most of our contemporary authors who have contributed a lot, not only to their through their literary genius, but also in terms of evolving a new variety of English, which is a very, very standardized Indian English variety. RP is into a question now. For example, Salman Rushdie in his wonderful novel, The Ground Beneath Her Feet, or for example, God of Small Things. And another example is The Inheritance of Loss by Clint Eastwood, where the language is used in its localized form. That also gives more opportunities to the contextualized writing representing the Indian mindset, the Indian identity, not only through the creative themes, but also through the medium of creative language. So my presentation will deal with some of these aspects. I assure you I'll not take more than enough time to explain this, but these are the important things. My first point would be going beyond the world of posts. Post-colonialism, post-modernism, post-existentialism. If we look at the present writings in English, especially in India, we have moved beyond it. However, the texts which are written may have certain influence of this. And as it is rightly said by Professor Bill Ashcroft in his post-colonialism reader, he has said that various colonies now have been able to colonize English language. So the English language has been colonized by us. We use it to meet our standards, to meet our expectations, to reach out to our audience, which has actually opened up a new arena of global readership for the entire world. So the themes of post-colonial India especially in the mainstream literature of present time, is not reflected too much. For example, the concepts of postmodernism, they are not like incorporated fully or truly into the literatures of the coming time, because various new genres have come up. However, various themes of postmodernism or post-colonialism, for example, the fragmented identity, the fragmented narrative, or the various postmodernist narrative techniques are still into use if we look at the South Asian English or South Asian English literature or English literature in the Indian subcontinent. But their dominance has been surpassed. So the contemporary writing in English goes beyond this post-colonial theory or postmodern theory or post-existentialist theory. And however, analysis are possible. Analysis from these perspectives of various literary ideologies, it is possible to analyze literary texts of present time by applying this theory. However, those texts, for example, the plays of my time, they mainly deal with, the local themes, local spatio-temporal coordinates, and localized forms of language. And that's how the entire identity is shaped. So I'll move to another point, which is universalism, creativity, and culture. So how, for example, the culture gets its own identity. I mentioned briefly about World Englishes and what does it do. So World Englishes has opened up new vistas for all the creative writers to explore their own cultural ideologies in their own localized, regionalized, domesticized language forms. So when we, for example, read Salman Rushdie, will have various words representing Hindi or Urdu language which are never translated. Or there are a number of examples in which you could see the coinage or code mixing or code switching, which are actually the linguistic techniques to represent our own culture and creativity to the broader world. Now, can we understand language as our own identity? Is it the language that gives the identity to our culture or to our own selves? Or these are two different ideologies. So when we talk about language, especially in 60s, 70s or 80s, when postmodernism and post-colonialism was practiced and were given too much importance and were theorized immensely by people like Jean-Francois Lyotard, Jacques Derrida, Bill Ashcroft, Jean Baudrillard. These kind of authors, they actually raised questions which were really, really pertinent. For example, can language capture the reality? Can reality be represented through the mediums of language? Even the same questions were raised in modernism, especially while practicing psychoanalysis theories or existentialist theories. But these questions were more prominently answered during the postmodern scenario, which is, to be very honest, is visible in the contemporary Indian writing in English. So, do you think that language should be the means to represent the cultural identity, or it is the culture that is its own identity through its own localized forms of language? And contemporary Indian writing in English has served that purpose. So for example, our authors have received tremendous, amount of honors from across the world for their creative genius. And that incorporation of language as its own identity, as well as the cultural identity as created through the forms of language, have become the predominant part of the contemporary Indian writing in English. Because the themes, the spatio-temporal coordinates, have become our own ways to create our own ideology of representation. So the Indianness of Indian writing in English, especially in the present time, not only in popular literature, but also in the mainstream literature, is visible. And this ideology of representation does not merely, restrict itself for one nation. For example, the ideology of representation in India could be equally valid for the ideology of representation in other South Asian countries. All these South Asian countries, they all are multilinguistics, multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and they all are governed by the ideology of acceptance rather than the ideology of dominance. As we can see, or we can actually analyze the earlier literature in 19th, 20th century, early 20th century, the immense influence of the Western world was dominating, the consciousness of the Indian subcontinent, continent, and now through the language, which has become the global one, which is now colonized by us to use the means of our own representation to the world. And it is this ideology of representation that actually creates our own cultural identity. For example, the inheritance of loss, or as I mentioned, Salman Rushdie's books, any of his books for that matter. Right. So all these books, speaking in strictly literary terms, these creates not only the identity of Indian literature, but it also represents the culture of India at the global front. And that's why I need to brief eminent delegates about some general observations that could be seen, that as you know that India has been able to produce mainstream literature, which is read by not only academicians across the world, but also by various other artists or authors all across the world. But it is very serious literature. However, India has also produced a lot of commercial literature, popular literature, and that is mainly for the Indian audience. However, some of the textbooks or some of the literary texts from popular literature has also gained international readership as well. What the mainstream literature actually represent? It actually represents a larger than Indian presence at the world, at the global front. And that could be seen because there is a greater international visibility of Indian literature at the global front. And it has been possible because so many prizes, so many Booker Prize have come to India, and so many other honors and awards have been various Indian authors. again, I would say it is popularized because of the literary festivals that are organized in India. Jaipur Literature Festival. Sorry. There was some disturbance, I'm sorry. Yes, so Jaipur Literature Festival, a wonderful literature festival in Ahmedabad that is organized every couple of years. I believe that in Madhya Pradesh recently there was a literature festival. All these literature festivals have given the authors, the contemporary Indian authors, a status of celebrity, which the authors in the past could never, get for themselves. But now, because of all these activities in the field of literature, in the field of, music, in the field of arts, just because of that, the creative artists, creative authors have gained the status of celebrities. Promotional events, there are many, and you will be surprised to know that when it comes to organizing conferences, seminars and workshops, not only at national or state level, but also at international level, the maximum number of academic events are organized by Indians. All these things, all these, like different ways of promoting literature has also given a great confidence to the writers to try out new forms of writing. If we survey the recent, the contemporary literature produced in the recent times, one will be able to observe that how beautifully the genres of science fiction has been explored. Even the children's literature has gone much beyond the mythological characters that used to remain present on the pages of children's literature. And this introduction to the various different kinds of themes and narrative techniques or narrative frameworks, they all have given a new identity and the global readership to all the Indian authors. So these are the prominent names, being the practitioners of English studies in India. We frequently talk about these people, and it is because of them that the Indian literature has been able to receive visibility on the literary map of the world. So Salman Rushdie, Vikram Sheth, Amitav Ghosh, Kiran Desai, Arundhati Roy, Amit Chaudhary, Rohinton Mistry, Shashi Tharoor, Arvind Adiga, all these people, and there are many authors who could be included, but because of the space, limitation of space, I have just mentioned a few. But these authors and their international reputation has given new heights to the Indian writing in English. I limit myself to fiction. I'm not going into the poetry or other fields of literature because otherwise it would be too vague. However, along with all these mainstream literary creations, in India in the present time, a huge market is open for commercial fiction. And this commercial fiction is getting currency. People like Chetan Bhagat, there are many other fiction authors that we come across. The major thing which could be observed in all this commercial fiction is that there is internal or domestic interest. They mainly focus in the in the issues and in the ideology of India. They do not go beyond that because they don't actually travel abroad. Rarely it happens that some of the commercial literature would travel to other countries and would also gain popularity there. These popular fiction, commercial fiction, or commercial literature is mainly meant for the Indian mass, dealing with the themes which are experienced by people of India in their day-to-day life. It is not very complex because it is meant for the common people, and that's why their presence appeals more. For example, the fiction of Chetan Bhagat receives huge attention from the Indian youth. However, it is believed that how do we distinguish between commercial fiction and canonical or mainstream literature? It is some of the critics have said that commercial literature or popular literature is not meant to be taken seriously. And it is true to a certain extent, because most of the popular literature mainly deal with the contemporary themes, contemporary ideas, contemporary issues, and not going beyond it. So it has a very limited scope of representation. It is not also regarded as literary, because the mainstream literature is not only studied in the universities or by some of the research students, but they are also theorized, analyzed by research scholars, by professors. However, very few people would take up their own research studies in the field of commercial fiction. However, I must share with you at this moment that recently the trend has opened up. I have seen many research scholars who are now willing to take up their research projects in the field of commercial literature. But into the strict literary sense, popular fiction, popular literature is not meant to be taken seriously. So this is one of the wonderful books. If it has not come to you so far, you should read. It is Consumable Text in Contemporary India, Uncultured Books and Bibliographical Sociology. It is by Suman Gupta. It was published in 2015, in which Suman distinguishes between these two in a very, very subtle way. So what is literary fiction? Literary fiction is the respectable public face of Indian literature in English, not only at the local level, but also abroad. Whereas commercial fiction is the gossipy cafe of Indian writing in English at home. Now, this actually tells us why the demand of popular literature has opened up, because there is a class that usually enjoy reading literature, who do not study literature as a discipline, but enjoy reading out of their hobby or out of their passion. But for them, serious literature would not mean much. For them, it is the popular literature that they would give preference to. And this is the reason why in the present time, the market, huge market for popular fiction has emerged. Not only this, but there are various genres which are practiced in contemporary times, which never used to in the past. So, for example, detective fiction, science fiction, fantasy literature, chick lit, for example. Chick lit is a very popular form now, wherein there are a number of examples I can give, but I'll just give you a brief idea. It talks about an independent woman who's career-oriented, who is working, and who wants to lead an independent life. On the go, she finds relationships, and then not committed, to the family ethos that Indian, people in the past to have a new.
Hello. Hello. I think Dr. Mitul has got disconnected.
Yeah, sir has been disconnected. Yes, now he's back. He's joining, sir.
He has not yet joined actually.
Just a minute. He is in the waiting room. His audio is not coming. I think there must have been some technical snag.
If somebody could call him.
Yeah, Roshan madam is calling him.
Fine.
Trivedi sir, you were logged out.
No, he has to unmute himself.
Sir, please unmute yourself. We are not able to hear you.
Yes. Dr. Mitul, please go ahead, Dr. Mitul. Dr. Mitul, unmute yourself, please. No, you are not yet audible.
There is issues with the
Yeah.
Extremely sorry for the technical glitch. I guess we must give some time to Dr. Mitul to log in back, please?
He has, but his bandwidth is very low.
We're just sorting it out.
Please give me, please give me a couple of minutes. I'll sort it out.
Yes, please. Yes, please, sir. Let me introduce Dr. Shivaji is with us from Mumbai, and he is sharing the session. Welcome, sir. And I guess we will be resuming in a couple of seconds or minutes. Dr. Shivaji, would you like to speak something, please?
Yeah, actually, definitely I would like to speak, but let us wait for Dr. Mitul to complete, because he was on a very fine tune when he stopped because of this technical issue.
Yeah, that's a technical glitch.
Yeah. But he was visible. He is facing some issue regarding his audio. So let us hope. Mitul is already there, but he has not unmuted himself. So if you could call him, it is possible that his audio is not working.
Roshan, in the meanwhile, we can introduce Dr. Shivaji Sargar, who is the chairperson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Yes.
Dr. Shivaji Sargar is with us from Mumbai University, a very dear friend and an eminent scholar. He's right now head of the department of Mumbai University.
No, I have moved ahead.
Sorry, sir?
I have moved ahead now. It has been handed over to my colleague.
Okay. But
Sir has moved on to higher levels. Sir has moved on and is on a rotation basis. But
okay,
sir is active, very active in other areas of literature.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Sargar, is it okay?
Yes. Yeah, it's fine.
In the meantime, we can hear from you, Dr. Shivaji.
I want to say one thing about Dr. Shivaji Sargar, that he is very active in the academic field and he has published many books to his credit, and he is also a publisher and editor of a research journal, which is UGC, here under the care, UGC care, is Research Chronicler, is doing wonderful, publications, which is Research Chronicler. Am I right, sir?
Yeah. It's Research Chronicler, yeah.
Am I audible, Roshan?
Yes, Dr. Mitul, you are
Yes,
audible, but I guess
Yes.
your video isn't working. You're audible.
Okay, all right. So, I'm so sorry. I must apologize to everyone, and especially Shivaji sir. Extremely sorry.
No, not at all.
Sir,
not at all. Actually, we were waiting for your coming back.
कल तो बहुत बढ़िया ज्वाइनिंग थी लड़कियों की.
Yes, so I actually wanted to give you one example of Penguin. Penguin in 2010 published a series which was named as Metro Reads. It was a typical kind of commercial literature. And,
can I please barge in for a minute, please? I would request all the participants to mute their videos and audios, please. Please mute your video, Umrao Singh ji. All right, Dr. Saab, please carry on.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Penguin India in the year 2010 launched one series. It was named Metro Reads. It was meant for those people who are working in various, especially IT industries. And it was actually, meant for them. Urban Scraps was the title given to one of those books. And it was mainly meant for the hubs of ITs like Mumbai, Hyderabad, Chennai. And it was hugely, popular. And the slogans which Penguin India gave to these series at that time was, fun, feisty, and fast reads. Another one was for the readers on the go. Now, all these attempts actually attracted a lot of readers who do not actually belong to the field of academics, but independent readers. And looking at these opportunities, many authors from various parts of the country actually started contributing to this. And this contribution is also, immense in the sense that it generated a lot of revenue, not only for authors, but also for publishers who actually in turn organized various events, promotional events, academic events, and then even that served a lot to the development of this field of literature. So this is one thing that I wanted to share, that the mainstream literature is gaining a lot of international repute and readership at the global level, whereas commercial literature is also contributing a lot in the present time. In the morning, Professor I.T. Tiwari sir mentioned about digital humanities, and he made a point stating that self-publishing on the internet has given a new avenue for the new writers to come forward and to contribute and to share their own creative ideas and creativity at large to the larger world. So self-publishing, not only in terms of written books, but also in terms of audio books, which is in trend now. And we all know that all these things are not only gaining popularity, but it is also contributing a lot to the development of mainstream literature. And it is that particular point where the contemporary writing in English, especially in English, and the contributions in terms of translation into English, they are widely accessible, widely available. And on the internet, there are various groups of poets, short story writers, like atom stories, Lagukatha, they call it Lagukatha, atom stories, very short story, hardly containing just a paragraph or two, like at the micro narrative level. And all these creative urge from various people are redefining the world of literature in India right now. At this particular point, it is more appropriate to ask whether the literature produced in India or written in our own India, why it is gaining such a wonderful, international leadership, not only because of the concepts, not only because of the context, but also these concepts and context which are in a new form, creatively merged together. So with this end note, I would like to say that the future of literature in India is very bright, not only because the mainstream literature is universally appealing, but also the popular literature of contemporary times is hugely contributing to the development of mainstream literature of India. And when I say India, I actually mean the Indian subcontinent. So, and these, like creative urge, these kind of creative texts are also creating a new identity of India at the global stage. As the literature teaches us to be hopeful, let's hope that more beautiful, more wonderful literature in coming times would come, and we all will be sharing our views on that. With this brief, title, a brief idea of contemporary literature in India, I would like to end here. In my next talk, most likely I'll be giving examples from the creative writings of Roshan Benjamin Khan as well. So I hope your contribution will also be immensely appreciated. We are looking forward to it. I thank the organizing committee, all the senior academic friends, especially people like Professor Ashok Sachdeva sir, Dr. Shivaji sir, who is one of my role models, and Professor I.D. Tiwari, Professor G.A. Ghanshyam. It has been a wonderful, wonderful day so far. I hope I could contribute a bit to your very, very sincere endeavor to contribute to the world of literature and ELT. So with this note, I'll fall into silence and speak no more. However, I'll accept some questions, if any. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Trivedi. It has been always a pleasure to listen to you. Now the session is open for questions. If any one of you have any questions, please feel free to ask Dr. Trivedi, please. I guess we have one question coming from Dr. Busra Waoud. And the question is, what are the main literary awards which promotes Indian mainstream novels to grow and reach the world?
There are many. For example, even the awards annually offered by the Sahitya Akademi, Delhi, Sahitya Akademi, Mumbai, or the regional Sahitya Parishad offices, they are very, very important, motivating and inspiring to the authors. And there are private, organizations. For example, the Global Association of English Studies. We have started giving away honors and awards to the scholars and contributors to the field of English studies. We actually gave away an award to Mahesh Dattani, and Professor Bill Ashcroft, Professor David Crystal, Professor Sulbha Natraj. So, academic associations or private organizations have also started giving away various awards and honors to inspire and to motivate people to contribute to an immense level in the field of English studies. So not only in terms of theories, but also in terms of creative writing. So these are the major awards at India level. However, there are many at international level, and our authors like Salman Rushdie, who received the Booker Prize for his novel. And even after 10 years, I think in 1980 or 1990, he received the Booker of the Bookers Award. Arundhati Roy, for example, Kiran Desai, Arvind Adiga, they all have been honored with all these international as well as national awards. So I think there are many, and there are various, as I mentioned, the private associations and bodies that actually promote such activities, like Vedant Academy, for example. They annually recognize contribution of various creative writers. So there are many, but to name the few, I think Sahitya Akademi and Sahitya Parishad in India, their awards are really, really encouraging to the writers.
Dr. Mutul, I have another question for you. It is from Dr. Bhoop Dikshit. He says literature of Chetan Bhagat. Can it be justified? Please enlighten us.
It is a literature. Any narrative which is written in a specific form is a part of literature. Now, that literature, when we talk about a particular author or a particular kind of, writing, we give them different titles, but they are part of literature, right? It could have some, religious or spiritual motives, social concerns, cultural perspectives, or purely literary perspectives, but they all are a part of literature. So I definitely consider, the contribution of Chetan Bhagat in the field of literature, especially literature in English. However, there are many people who believe that his literature is mainly, popular kind of or a commercial kind of literature. The objectives of writing such novels or such stories, the objectives are different. From another point of view, if you look at the writings of Salman Rushdie, I mean, in 2019, a wonderful book by him has come out. If you read such books, they do not target to sell the books at commercial level, but they actually try to, give something very, very concrete, meaningful, serious at the global level. So we differentiate between them. We give them different titles, commercial literature, popular literature, as I said, or science fiction, or maybe mainstream literature. But all of them are definitely part of literature. I do consider it as a great contribution to the field of literature.
Dr. Trivedi, another question is coming from Dr. Atul Banihar. And the question is, everything is now shortening in literature. Where can we see the future of
literature?
Sorry,
I didn't catch you.
Everything
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes, I'm repeating, Dr. Trivedi.
Yeah.
The question is by Atul Banihar. And the question is, everything is now shortening in literature. Where can we see the future of literature in commercial aspect?
Right. Now, shortening, I think it is a little confusing. Shortening in terms of content or shortening in terms of, conceptual and contextual clarity?
I guess the question is pertaining to the commercial aspect. So I guess the commercial aspect is implicated over here.
Right.
I guess it is going into abbreviations.
Yeah. So Abdul, I believe that we cannot or we should not ideally restrict, the creativity of literature writers. As I mentioned that on internet, even in the published form now, you will find, a collection of atom stories, a story which will hardly have 1 or 2 paragraphs. It is less than a page, but it is still a story. It still is a narrative, right? And it is done because keeping in mind the possible or prospective readers, it becomes easier for people to complete stories with ideas, and if they are shortened in length, it will have more practical aspects for the readers to read and complete it, even while traveling or commuting to their workplace. I believe that the future of literature is really bright because of this, like internet and various communities and all these organizations, association, private or government associations, academic associations, they all are now working together to give new shape and new life to the future of literature. So I believe that the future of literature may be commercial, may be mainstream literature, but it is going to be wonderful. So the field of literature will be breathing its full youthful life on the Indian soil even in coming times. And I have that conviction.
Another question from Shalini Mathur. She says, what is that difference between a classical literature from a popular literature in the present time? As the passage of time, it has established automatically, but still, what is the differentiation between the classical literature from a popular literature?
As I mentioned earlier, that popular literature, the main objective of the popular literature is to stick to one's own identity in a specific region with the specific themes, which is actually, meant for a specific number or a specific type of audience. So that is how, commercial literature, popular literature deals with. Their themes are Indian themes. The depiction of characters have all Indian, features. Even the concept of space and time is Indianized. Even the language is Indianized because its main aim to reach to the Indian audience. Whereas classical literature has, various other objectives as well. Because it is classical, right? It deals with those themes which are relevant. Commercial literature may not deal with those, themes which are eternal. They may like to focus on the contemporary issues, contemporary, like ideas or ideologies, which are relevant to this specific time. It may not have its own relevance in the future. But they deal with the present, whereas classical literature generally deals, with timelessness. It cannot be captured within a specific historical time frame.
We have another question from Naresh Kumar Parmar. And the question is, what's the fundamental difference in the first generation women writers and today's writers in Indian writing in English? And after that, I guess Dr. Trivedi, Dr. Ashok Sachdeva said that I would like to ask a question. So I don't know what that question is.
Right. Yes, the first generation women writer and the present generation of women writer, they, as I mentioned, literature, especially mainstream literature, deals with the ideology to represent either social or as well as cultural perspectives, right? And they represent. So the first generation of women writer, Toru Dutt, for example, not many people read Toru Dutt these days. There are many, right? And now, if you, for example, if you read Kiran Desai or Arundhati Roy, you will find a new kind of understanding of the world. Because when you study or when you read the Inheritance of Laws, the travel, which you could, and you can travel with all the chapters, and the narrative or narratorial creativity in the present writings, especially by the female authors, is amazing. Right. So they actually deal with the contemporary times, keeping in mind the globalization of the world, the universalism of not only language, but also, as I mentioned, the concepts as well as context. So they focus on all these three aspects: concepts, context, and creativity. And they bring, fresher subjects. They bring in more relevant, themes, which are appealing to us.
There's another question coming from Dr. Geeta Sharma. And the question is, Dr. Trivedi, we are having tweet fiction and poetry limited to 250 characters only. What is your opinion on this, sir?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
This question is coming from Dr. Geeta Sharma. She's asking, we are having tweet fiction and poetry limited to 250 characters.
Right.
What is your opinion on this?
I don't think there should be any opinion on this. Right. The creative liberty of the author is a subjective matter. Right. And these, literatures of various, like, for example, Tolstoy or Dostoevsky, they used to introduce more than 500 characters in a novel. Right. That time was different. Right. That, if you look at historically from the perspectives of space and time, that era was different. I believe and I think that the creative framework of any literary text has to be given liberty for its own presence of creative ideas within it. So I don't think, I have my opinion on this, because I have always believed that creativity is a subjective matter. The depiction, or probably, I believe, I think Geeta has asked this question. Geeta, please read one book. I'll share the title with you. It talks about, pretext, subtext, text, and post-text. Right. And it also tells you the entire process of writing a literary text. And that kind of, psychological analysis of an author is very important. And the end is always, it is observed and it is stated also that creativity is a subjective matter independent to every author. And that is the charm of the literature. I mean, I don't think there is anything wrong. I believe that it actually gives a new charm. Right? You will read a story where there is only one character or two characters. Or you will read, a novel by Salman Rushdie where you will have a number of characters. So it's the creative uniqueness of the authors.
Dr. Geeta is telling us that by character she means a word limit.
Achha. Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, but I think see, various forms of literature are practiced, and there are creative forms as well. Right. For example, I'll give you the answer in my own ways, but before that, I'll tell you that very rarely we have first-person narrative, stories, right? Very rarely, very rarely, and wherein the narrator himself becomes the protagonist. The best example is, I believe, The Reluctant Fundamentalist. It's a very small novel, like a novella, right? But it has its own creative ideology. As I shared with you, that now people also practice atom stories, having just one paragraph, and it's a narrative. It's a narrative, complete narrative in itself. It has just one message, maybe one portrayal of a character, or maybe 250 words, or maybe less than that. But it conveys one narrative. We call it micro-narrative. Right? But it is true. It is true. And I think that these are new forms of writing. Many people enjoy doing it. Many people enjoy doing it. And especially those people who are highly inspired to enter into the field of literature or creative writing. I have seen, and because I have done some workshops on creative writing myself, they are more interested to begin with, smaller narratives, micro narratives. So I think again, there are numerous forms, and every form has its own ideology and charm. Even in the poetry, for example, haiku, right? It's probably the smallest form of poetry. So it has its own, as I said, that it has its own legitimacy. It has its own narrative, uniqueness, and artists and especially writers are free to use it. So I believe that it actually brings in more creative aspects, because there is a limitation of space, there is limitation of ideas, and just in less than 250 words or characters, they have to deal with one narrative. But it has to do with creative ideology.
I totally agree with you, Dr. Trivedi. I also read Sultana's Dream by Ruqayya Shekhawat. Begum Ruqayya Shekhawat, that is one of the most powerful statement of feminism at a period when feminism was unheard of. And Sultana's Dream only is like a 14-page small novella.
Right.
And it's one of the most powerful statement on feminist writing.
Right.
I would give now only one participant who would like to question you in person, and that is Dr. Ashok Sachdeva.
Okay. I think, sir, you should not ask me questions. You should correct my answers. So,
no, sir. Sir, you have beautifully answered all the questions with all your force of intellect, with the force of your argument. I do appreciate all these answers given by you. I have a little query, because we have been talking about literature and the kinds of literature and the various genres. But let us see the OTT platforms, what content is being served on the OTT platforms, the deterioration that has been brought about. Because some of them are good. Pandemic has been a blessing in disguise, no doubt. But there has been a disguise in blessing also, because of the movies are being released on OTT platforms. The language has deteriorated. Earlier, we used to talk about the sublimity, Longinus concept of sublimity, sublime, grand thoughts uttered in a grand way. Grand is the beauty of the language that we enjoy in Milton, the beauty of the language that we have in Shakespeare. But look at the kind of vulgarity, height of vulgarity, the vulgar language, the obscene, and the kind of that is being served to the audience, to the generations, and that is common, that is replacing commonplace language nowadays. Literary language is being replaced by the foul language, and that has becoming a sort of a new normal as well. So I think
that's very true.
Good adaptations, like all the movies of Arun Tagore you can watch. And recently I watched Kabuliwala, Bioscope Wala, and also Darban and various other movies. But that's a good part of it. But most of the content is full of bloodshed, violence, height of cruelty. Even, I'm amazed to see that the Hamlet doesn't kill Claudius while he's praying, kneeling down at the prayer, thinking that his soul would straight go to heaven. But nowadays, there's a violence even in the uthavnas in the films, latest movie, the power that has been released. Even the places of worship have become the dirty places of violence and bloodshed. So do you think is that literature the kind that that is being served before the...
I believe, sir, as you rightly stated, that these new forms of language is a product of this platforms, various platforms, because that platform has become, is open for everyone to, present their own creative ideas, their own way of thinking about things, not only in terms of, literature, but also in the form of music, for example, in the field of movies, short films, right? People are contributing immensely to that. However, the language is questionable. It is questionable to us because we have not grown up in the field of literature, reading or listening to that kind of a language. But I still believe, sir, it is a new norm. Those kind of, literature or talks or movies, they receive more views and they have more subscribers than many other channels that I have seen myself, where they don't get many viewers, though they deal with extremely wonderful language, extremely wonderful content. But as I mentioned, and as you also rightly stated, it's a new normal. And it is an open platform which cannot be controlled. So on the name of creativity, many things are happening. I don't agree with most of them. However, I believe that these open platforms have also given a way to those creative authors, creative artists who genuinely wants to contribute. But sir, even in literature, published literature in the 1940s, 1950s, or even earlier than that, like new normal is always considered to be a foul. However, I believe that we should give some more time to it. As I stated earlier in my talk, that I'm very, very hopeful. Literature has served to be an instrument to bring in revolutions. And we all have heard about it. We all have read about it. And I believe literature has that power to change the society and to contribute immensely to the future. So I'm very, very hopeful. However, this new language, new form of creativity is alarming, but still there are many, many other things which are very positive. And I believe that our generation has to look at that because we belong to that age where language, the beauty of language became the source of reading for us. And we started reading because of the literature, especially because of this beauty of language, which is missing. But I still believe that the mainstream literature provides a lot of things which is taken seriously, which is meant to deal with serious subjects, global subjects. I believe that we still have the option. But the new normal is a new normal, and it cannot be restricted or improved. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Trivedi, just one time for one last question, please. Dr. Anisa, she asked that how much poetry writings have shifted in terms of its ideological form from its first generation to present form, and how writers' perspectives have changed in this regard.
Thank you for this wonderful question, which requires another entire session to talk about. And I must tell you that I have no authority on poetry. I don't get to read poems, or I have never researched on poetry and the way it is written, especially in English. I'm not the right person to answer this, and I honestly acknowledge my limitation in the field of poetry. I would like to invite other seniors if they could clarify and purify this doubt of the question, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Trivedi. Now I would like Dr. Shivaji Sagar to give reflections on the session today.
Yeah.
Dr. Shivaji Sagar from Mumbai University. Thank you, Dr. Trivedi.
Yes. Good afternoon, all. Before I begin my reflections on Dr. Trivedi's session, let me put on record my very sincere, heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Benjamin Khan, the organizer, and then, of course, her entire team, who have asked me to be the person to chair this particular session. So, ma'am, thank you very much. I also would like to express my sense of gratitude to the speaker of this session, Dr. Mitul Trivedi, for various reasons. Of course, the most important one is the kind of talk he delivered today, which definitely enlightened me, of course, as one of the listeners to this session. During his session, Dr. Mitul Trivedi, I believe you took us all to the world tour, I can say, to the history of English language, and touched upon different varieties of English language. And finally, you took us back to India with Indian language, which we know is a very distinct variety of English. And this particular variety of English, Indian English, is spoken by more number of people, Indian people, than perhaps the entire population of the Europe itself. Dr. Mitul, he also said that Indians have post-colonized the English language. And of course, the themes like fractured identity he touched upon. He said that these themes are often discussed in Indian as well as other South Asian writers. During his talk, he also mentioned that compared to other South Asian writers, we, the Indian writers, like he gave the entire list of Indian authors like Salman Rushdie, he spoke about Vikram Seth, Aravinda Ghosh, he also touched upon Rohinton Mistry, Arundhati Roy, Arvind Adiga, and other people. And he said that these people have used English language as a powerful means of literary expression. And these people, they have achieved international reputation. They have received ample critical reception. And of course, they have won various awards like Booker Award he mentioned. Further, he distinguished between literary fiction and commercial fiction by saying that there is a huge market for commercial fiction. As you know, there are huge number of readers who read literature just as a means of entertainment rather than a serious discipline of study. In India, this commercial success of fiction written in English, it has been further pushed ahead by the roles played by the publishers. He took the example of international publisher Penguin India, that came to India and opened its shops at multiple locations all over the country. Definitely, such kinds of publishing houses, they have generated huge revenue to the publishers themselves, of course, as well as the individual authors. Dr. Trivedi, he mentioned the role played by small individual publishers, and of course, very important one, the people who have picked up internet as a place for publishing their literary pieces. So during the entire session of Dr. Mitul Trivedi, what he did was, I believe, he tried to tell the audience that the way in which English as a language and English literature as one of the literatures, Indian English literature as one of the forms of literature, English literature which is produced in India in ample numbers, it has definitely took us at international level. While answering the questions, actually, two things I would like to mention about Trivedi, Dr. Trivedi, how he looks at literature as one of the important genres in the lives of human beings. The first question he answered, I think, was related to the distinction between classical and popular literature. And one question was regarding whether we should consider Chetan Bhagat as a serious writer or his literature as literature at all. So while responding to this question, I must say, I must actually appreciate and congratulate Dr. Mitul Trivedi for his wonderful answer in which he said that yes, everything is literature, whatever is being written. Of course, we know the basic definition of literature is anything fictitious is literature, which is written with the help of the imagination of the writer. So definitely, when we take into consideration this general definition of literature, everything which is written, not only written, even the oral, we have oral forms of literature. So this answer given by Mithun Trivedi definitely encompasses all of them. Forget about Chetan Bhagat. There are hundreds of writers, hundreds of people, whether I'm not speaking about their success or failure. What I feel is their attempts, their efforts, their individual urge, inner urge to write something, to express something in the form of maybe poem, a short story, or any other long work of literature. Definitely everything we should call as literature. What we can say is that yes, one writer is better than the other, or one piece of literature is better than the other piece of literature, taking into consideration the different literary characteristic features which are included into that particular work of art. So that answer definitely includes, I would say, includes all those enthusiastic souls who are actually interested to be the part of this literary horizon. I don't want only to emphasize this particular answer. What I want to say is, besides this particular thing, there has been a kind of ideology to exclude one and include the other. This particular ideology is there for thousands of years. This takes me actually to the question which was asked by our senior colleague, senior friend, Dr. Ashok Sachadeva, wherein he actually expressed his anxiety regarding bloodshed, violence, too much violence, which is there on our OTT platform. But I think Dr. Sachadeva will agree with me that this bloodshed, this violence, this vulgarity, with reference to the situations, with reference to the themes, with reference to the characters, with reference to the language, is there for hundreds of years, even in our own literature class. If we take the example, say, from Mahabharata, we have so many examples in Mahabharata itself in which we are told, we are shown, actually, see, he mentioned, Dr. Sachadeva mentioned some of the names of the movies, because it's audio visual, so it becomes more serious for us. But when we read Mahabharata, it is only which we can read. It is not visual in front of us. So when we watch the television series, serial like Mahabharata on the screen, we see that Draupadi, who is being undressed. Now see, this is a scene. This is a small scene wherein a woman is being undressed in front of her own husbands, her own relatives, her in-laws. Everybody is present in the court, and she is being undressed. Now, this particular scene, I think that it expresses any good taste. It has no any good taste, but it is there. Similarly, a small boy. Let's take an example from the same. Small boy.
वॉइस अनम्यूट कर लीजिएगा सर
प्लीज yourself, sir. Dr. Sargar, please unmute yourself.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, sir.
So I think this is for the first time I am audible.
So you were audible, sir. For I think few seconds you were muted.
Okay, fine. Okay.
I guess
so I was.
Your bandwidth, this thing is low.
Okay. So no, I don't want to prolong my comment, but one thing I would like to definitely mention here is that the kind of literature we are having, that Mahabharata, as I was giving the example from. So from that time onward, even in Greek literature, in Roman literature, we do have a lot of bloodshed, a lot of violence, a lot of vulgarity is there. So that is there. But today, of course, today now what has happened is now we have started to distinguish between the good and the bad. That has become the problem because the number of readership has increased. So probably because of that, and we do have a lot many platforms available to express ourselves, our opinions. Maybe this can be one reason that we have started to disagree for agreement or agreeing for getting disagreed for the for one or the other opinion. So here in this case of today's session, Dr. Mitul Trivedi's session, he very rightly mentioned that whatever may be the form of literature, whatever may be the theme of that particular literature, whether it is the writer is like Chetan Bhagat or any other serious writer. The term serious I would like to put into inverted commas. So this particular by anybody, but we have to call it a piece of art itself. We have to call it written with some motive by the writer. It has some of the qualities of literature, definitely. And of course, Chetan Bhagat, he is considered now. Many people have, of course, registered for PhD. Many people have received their PhD degrees for working on the literature, the text written by the novels written by Chetan Bhagat. So definitely, I agree with Dr. Mitul Trivedi. I actually strongly agree with Dr. Mitul Trivedi when he says that all literature is literature, whether it is written by X or written by Y. Written in the present contemporary Indian context in 2021, including, of course, a very great name now in contemporary Indian writing we are having. He mentioned the organizer for today's webinar, Dr. Benjamin Khan. Of course, her name should also get included into this long list of literary artists who are there, who have created their place in this particular literary history. So definitely, all of them we have to study them. We have to get into explore various features of that particular work of art, and then only we can express whether it is good or it is not so good literature. That's it. This is all from my side. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Benjamin. Dr. Benjamin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shivaji. And now I would like to request Dr. Sunil for a vote of thanks.
Hare sir, please unmute yourself.
Sorry, I'm not audible.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
repeating.
audible.
Thank you, Roshan Benjamin, ma'am. The best and the beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt by heart. Thank you is one of such prayer among them. I feel honored and privileged to get the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on a special day on behalf of the Department of English, Government PG College, Mahu. I convey my regards and heartily thanks to our Honorable Speaker, Dr. Mitul Trivedi, who gave his virtual time from busy schedule to grace this webinar. We all are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Now, I would like to thank my colleagues, students, all the participants, because of whom we made this webinar possible. Once again, thank you very much to all.
Thank you so much, sir. I, as a facilitator on the first day of academic deliberations on our theme Contemporary Literature in English and ELT, Changing Paradigms and Shifting Trends, declares this day's plenary session closed. We will meet tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. to begin our second day's presentations. Tomorrow we are going to have with us Professor Noor Arifa Darjati from Indonesia and Dr. G.A. Ghanshyam as eminent speakers. We are also privileged to have tomorrow with us Honorable VC DAVV Indore, Dr. Renu Jainji, and our chief patron, Dr. Suresh Salavarji, as our guest of honor. We hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and I'm declaring the session now closed. We'll see you tomorrow at 11:30. Thank you so much for being there.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.